Hi, this is Brennan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock Blog, and I'm here with Dion for another episode of Wuxia Weekend. And tonight we're taking a break from Wuxia to talk about a Jackie Chan film called City Hunter. This is a 1993 movie starring Jackie Chan and Joey Wong, and I just discovered that it was based on a manga of some kind. This was a movie that neither me nor Dion had seen, so we were both having our first experience with it. I saw it for the first time last night. And I think Dion, you might have seen it before me. I think you saw it a week ago or something, right? Like, I remember you were sending me some text messages.
I saw it this week. I saw it was either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, because when you texted me, I started watching it that night and I stopped because I was like, I just don't want to deal right now. I need to be in a better mood to watch this to see if that affects my impression. You know what I mean? So anyways, the reason that we watched this one was somebody sent me a clip of Jackie Chan in a fight scene where he's dressed up as Chun-Li from Street Fighter, and like he's like acting like Chun-Li, and I forget, he was fighting another Street Fighter character, and it was a very ridiculous scene, and I was very curious about the context of the scene, and so I talked Dion into letting us watch this movie. So Dion, why don't you tell us what your reaction was to the film before I give mine, and then we can have a discussion.
You must be setting me up with Jackie Chan films.
No, well, we'll talk about that later. That's a whole other topic, but we could definitely get into that. But this was not a setup because I had no knowledge of this movie.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, this was not my favorite movie. It's definitely a one and done. I don't need to see this again.
Was there anything you liked about the movie, or was it just a pure disappointment to you?
No, it wasn't a pure disappointment. I do love Joey Wong, and I think it probably would have been better if it weren't for the zany soundtrack, background noises, and you know how I feel about the dubbed voices. These were one of the worst sets of dubbed voices that I've ever heard.
Okay, so what she's talking about. So number one, the background music was atrocious. It was. I often praise the music in movies, and I actually quite liked the opening theme song that they were playing. It had a little bit of a catchy feel to it, but then once the movie started, they just were doing this. It sounded like it was like goofy music from the 30s or 40s. Do you know what I mean? It was like that kind of style. Wouldn't you say it's got like that vibe to it? Like
it was definitely goofy, but I don't know what time period it was from, but it was definitely goofy.
I don't either. I just mean it has that generic, this is an old-timey movie sounding ridiculous type of thing. And I sort of got it because it was like, well, this looks a little bit more like a Charlie Chaplin style thing. Like maybe Jackie Chan is going to his sources of inspiration for some of the stuff he's doing here. But like that soundtrack really made it hard. It really didn't work with a lot of the sequences, and the dubs sounded like a really bad anime dub. Do you know what I mean? Like it just had that, like the voices were over the top, kind of silly. Which now that we've and again, we didn't know this was based on a manga. Apparently, it is. Maybe that, like, I feel like I share that criticism with you, but I feel like maybe it's a criticism with an asterisk because maybe they were going for. Like, I don't know what it looks like in the original version, but maybe that's also equally ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? But either way, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for you, I think. I had very high hopes at the opening because the opening was very unusual, and I don't know, the humor was kind of fun because they were basically going all over all of these dramatic beats, but it was totally ridiculous, and they were shifting tone rapidly. So somebody dies and he's like, I'll take care of your daughter for you, or your niece or whatever, and then like immediately it just shifts to something else where, you know, it's a different tone. And it was all done in a kind of really minimalist background stagey type setup. So it just was, I don't know, the intro was eye-catching for me, but then once it started, I was just like, oh, this is kind of not work. This is not the kind of Jackie Chan film I like. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I could see people liking it because the basic premise is he has this partner that he used to work with who dies, and his partner, I think it was his sister or his daughter or his niece.
Sister.
It was his sister. He's like, take care of her for me, but never ever seduce her, right? Like that was the one thing. So it's a kind of a creepy setup because then they end up, she grows up and then they end up falling in love, or she's in love with him or something, but he's a womanizer. So he's always, so she's always angry at him, and he's always looking after, out for other women. And the plot is they have to deal with, they basically are on a cruise ship and they have to deal with terrorists that are on the cruise ship. That's as they're trying to find this girl that they've been hired to rescue. Yeah, to rescue.
And it's all a great plot. It just wasn't executed very well.
Yeah.
And for me, it was as soon as they started talking, I think I was pretty much done. Because
yeah, I've had a feeling about that.
I texted you about the dubs as the voices. As soon as I heard one, I was like, I don't know if I can make it through this because the voices were so bad. They were over the top, silly, and exaggerated. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I will say I stopped noticing them after a while though, but they were totally that. And I had just started watching it when you texted me, so like I saw the voice and I was like, oh, Dion is not gonna like this. This is I can tell, and the yeah. Did you find the setup creepy at all? I was curious about that. Was the whole thing of him raising the woman, or did it fit for the movie? I didn't find the
setup creepy because you don't want your best friend dating your sister.
Yeah.
Whether you're dead or alive, most guys don't. So, because it makes things weird. But I didn't find it creepy.
Well, I don't mean that part. I mean the fact that the setup was he raised her and then she becomes a woman and then he's attracted to her. Do you know what I mean? Like, was that part off-putting, or you think it was handled fine by the movie?
I think it was handled fine. I didn't think it was off-putting at all. Okay. Because, I mean, it does happen, like Jackie Chan's character says, in a blink of an eye. Girls grow up. But I guess he wasn't expecting to see her as a woman. It just happened for him, and he didn't know she felt this attraction for him until all that stuff happened on the cruise.
And just to give people an indication of what their relationship like and what this movie is like, not most of the movie, but a lot of the movie is her getting mad at him for looking at other women, and then something ridiculous will occur, like she'll have a giant, and I mean giant, like 15-foot tall sledgehammer and smash him in the face. It's that kind of over the top, which when I found out it was a manga, it made sense. I was like, okay, this must have been, maybe this was an anime at some point too, and it had those like weird moments where it's like something really exaggerated is happening in order to express the emotion of the character.
And I'm just finding out that it was a manga, so you telling me that in retrospect makes everything a little different now because I have a better understanding, because there were a couple points in the movie where I was thinking these people have watched the Three Stooges way too many times.
Well, again, I know that like Buster Keaton was a big source of inspiration for Jackie Chan, and I assume a lot of those other old slapsticks were. And when I was watching this, the one thing I liked about it was, there was martial arts in it, but wouldn't you agree this was not a normal Jackie Chan movie? It was much more.
No, definitely wasn't.
Yeah, it felt a lot more like the Three Stooges or Buster Keaton or that style of physical comedy. You did have martial arts. Like, I don't want to give people the wrong idea, but it just felt more rooted in that than a lot of other Jackie Chan films, and I thought that was kind of nice. It's just that there was so much else about the movie that was kind of not working. But it had its moments. There were some really funny moments, and some of the humor is very dated too. So there's that. Yes. You know what I mean? But still, if you grew up in the period, you might still find it funny. Do you know what I mean? So, I liked moments of the humor, but there was just a lot of waiting for the good stuff to happen. and there was a lot of stuff that just fell flat when it happened. It just didn't land for me tonally.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the cruise ship location. I thought that was a nice location.
I thought that was awesome.
And I liked a lot of the characters too. Like I actually started liking, like the main two characters quite a bit, and I liked the two women that they had on board the ship that were sent to also intercept the terrorists. And right. I liked how they had that intertwined with them. Do you know what I mean? I thought it was kind of a neat, like that. The character stuff all worked. I liked the boyfriend that she picked up to make him jealous. The hopeless guy.
Yeah.
And I liked the villains. Like there was a guy played by Richard Norton that was really great. He's just like so. He just like in a lot of these movies, the characters' personalities are completely conveyed by like their martial arts, and in this case, the guy is just conveyed purely by like a kata at the when he first shows up in the movie. You know what I mean? Like that kind of I really. I don't know. I liked a lot of the way that they built the characters, and so yeah, I don't know what and I'm sorry, that might not have been the Richard Norton character. I might have got the two confused, but I only saw this once. But either way, it was the characters I liked, but the movie just I don't know it
wasn't well executed for me. There were bits and pieces I liked. Like there's one scene when they're in the movie theater and Bruce Lee and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar are fighting on the big screen, and then Jackie is fighting with two humongous black men and kind of not exactly mirroring what's going up on the screen, but he's handling business, and then when Jackie's about to leave, Bruce Lee has one of his lines, and it's funny. It was funny to me that was like one of the very rare jokes that I got from the whole thing. Everything.
Do you remember what the line was by any chance? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm just
no, I can't remember what the line was, but the way that Bruce Lee delivered it, obviously, it was the actual movie that was playing in the back. But then the situation just to me made it funny. The line really wasn't supposed to be funny, but the way that the situation caused the line to be funny for me.
Okay.
And so it was just, but I did like some of the characters that were there. Of just, again, for me, voices just really detracted from the whole thing. Some of the voices were way too pitchy for me, and it's just, I don't know, but some of them the characters themselves were really funny, and I would really, if I could watch it again, would like to watch it with subtitles and original language to see if that would make it any different.
Okay. Yeah, I suspect it probably would be similarly goofy, but maybe not. Who knows? And I just want to clarify, it was actually the Gary Daniels character that I was talking about, not the Richard Norton character.
Was he the blonde one?
He was the blonde guy. Yeah, the guy that did like the flip over the couch and then the weird split and like, he's just
okay.
And I think he dressed up as a Street Fighter character, Ryu or something, later on in the movie. And the Richard Norton character was the head terrorist guy. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to like the movie, but I just really couldn't get into it. Like, I mean, and again, it had its moments. I like Jackie Chan. I like Joey Wong. I liked a lot of the other characters. I liked certain moments in the film. Like some of the stuff that was going on during the casino scene or the gambling scene was kind of cool. Some of the stuff going on when they were trying to fight the terrorists was really cool. Some of the fight scenes were great. Like the one that you mentioned when when they were playing Game of Death in the background. That I like that fight scene because what I love about Jackie Chan is he doesn't need to be the best all the time in his movies. Do you know what I mean? So so even when he wins, he embarrasses himself a lot along the way, and it's just a more self-deprecating style of martial arts hero. And a lot of martial arts heroes, they always have to be the best. Do you know what I mean? They can't. And so,
right.
And that was really apparent, I thought, throughout this movie. And it's apparent in a lot of his films. But here, I thought, because comedy was such a priority, you really saw it. He was really falling and failing along the way to beat these guys. And it was
because a lot of his martial arts were actually mistakes that end up helping him to win or to subdue somebody. They weren't like usually in a martial arts film, the hero's got to be this tough, always perfect martial artist. But here it was like, is he really good at martial arts?
Yeah.
And did they really send the right guy for this job? And why is he so famous that everybody knows City Hunter? And was that his name? Was City Hunter?
No, his name. No, he had a name in the movie. It was Rio, I think, and I think Joey Wong's character's name was Cowrie. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing them correctly.
Okay.
But I think they kept calling him City Hunter. I don't know. I mean, everything like this is through translation. One thing I loved about that scene too is how it's like a homage to the scene with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Game of Death, which is a really cool fight scene.
It's awesome.
It's a really interesting one because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is so tall, and so it's just a nice. It's kind of a fun scenario to see play out with someone with Bruce Lee's talent. And Jackie Chan is obviously trying to top it by having two tall guys that he has to fight.
Right.
But because he's doing it comedically and he's failing, it doesn't feel like he's really trying to one up Bruce Lee. It just feels, it just works better because of that. Do you know what I mean? It's not it's like he's fighting two opponents that are tall, but he's taking it in a wildly different direction. So I don't know, what were there any other highlights in the movie for you, or were they few and far between?
They were few and far between, but I did like where the Street Fighter scene. I thought that was pretty funny, especially seeing Jackie Chan dressed as Chun-Li. And the mannerisms, he had it down. It was pretty funny.
It was a fearless portrayal of Chun-Li. I thought it was not. There was no hesitation in his performance.
No, none at all. He took it there. He was spot on.
And that was definitely. I mean, and that's the reason we saw the movie. So I was kind of hoping the whole movie was just going to be gonzo like that. And this movie was gonzo, but just not in the ways I wanted, But that scene was interesting. Also, and this is a little spoilery, but basically, when I saw that scene, I was like, well, I want to know how that happens in the movie. Like, what causes Jackie Chan to suddenly appear as Chun-Li and fight Ryu? And it's because Jackie Chan smashes into a Street Fighter arcade thing and gets electrocuted, and it does some movie magic, and he hallucinates that he's in Street Fighter basically. But so it was just kind of a weird, bizarro moment. But the film had a lot of sequences like that. It also had that extended sequence where they were singing on stage. Do you remember that? Which was just kind of like a goofy song, and
yes,
and then the singers become
main songs.
Yeah, and then the singers, I think, became part of their team against the terrorists, right? So
they tried to involve everybody on the ship to be against the terrorists.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I liked the guy that was the gambler.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was cute, first of all, but second of all, I thought he was gonna help make the movie a little bit more serious and not so slapstickish.
Yeah,
which he did, which was a point for him, and he was attracted to one of the two women that was sent on the boat to intercept the terrorists. And I love how they brought it all back when he was fighting the terrorists to using the cards.
Yeah, those are cool.
Kill the assassin. I thought that was a really
I like that.
Really cool.
I like that. I also kind of like the scene where the woman goes to seduce the guard, and the guard is gay, and so he has no effect on him. Yeah, and he just starts punching her, and then but it's slapstick punching. It wasn't
Mysterious.
Yeah, and so I thought that scene was kind of funny, and just scenes like that throughout the movie were amusing. And
the one chick keeps falling over. She loses her balance at the weirdest time
because she's got boobs and she falls over. That was my reading of the situation, that her boobs kept making her fall over. But I thought that the way the expression on her face when that happened, she really sold it. It was very charming. Again, the characters were fine. Like, a lot of the characters are like one or two details really exaggerated, but for a movie like this, that would work fine. That's not a problem in this kind of film. And I thought Joy Wong was good. I really, I thought that she did a good job as the character, and but again, it was just like you said, it just didn't feel executed well. There was something missing throughout it. There were moments that were entertaining. It's just that, and there just wasn't. I think I could have used a bit more physical comedy. Do you know what I mean? I needed a few more really heavy hitting moments in this film, and I feel like I didn't quite get it. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, and I also I think that background music really hurt my investment.
Throws everything off.
Yeah, it really hurt. And I think another part of it is it did take a little bit of time for the film to get to the plot. Do you know what I mean? For a comedy movie, I felt like it was taking a little bit too much time, where you had this whole thing where they go to the skateboarders, and you know what I mean? And it's just like, I think if more interesting things had been happening during that period, that might have carried the movie a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know. I really wanted to like this movie. I like Jackie Chan movies. I love Jackie Chan movies from this period, like in the 80s and early 90s. That's, those are usually, I find those kind of films usually quite entertaining, but they're not all great, and so this is one that it just didn't rise to a high enough level for me. So I don't know. I'm should we go on to ratings and recommendations? Because I don't know if there's much else that we did want to talk about Jackie Chan films, right? Because you had said that I had
set me up.
Yeah, set you up. And so I don't know, is that a topic you want to address before we?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a Jackie Chan fan, but I'm not a Jackie Chan hater either. Mm-hmm. I guess when I was younger, I didn't see enough Golden Harvest films to appreciate Jackie Chan. Mm-hmm. Before he made his way to America and did movies like Shanghai Noon and Rush Hour, because that's where I first really knew him from. Okay. And then went back to visit films. So I like the later 70s stuff, early 80s. And so I guess this period I missed, because when we did Police Story, I didn't like that one either. Okay. And everybody loves that, but
that's a great. I love. Well, not everybody loved it. Some of the critics were critical.
Everybody I know loves it, but I would really like the opportunity to watch more Jackie Chan films, because we did one film that I really liked of his, where it was a time period setting. It was called
The Magnificent Bodyguards. That's one that I just covered that on the other podcast again. Actually, that movie though is one that he didn't like himself. So the tastes that you and Jackie Chan might have might not align. If right. I think I first became aware of Jackie Chan in high school, and I remember my friends going to see Jackie Chan movies from China. Do you know what I mean? Because the big thing was you got to see, and the reason people would go see them is because you got to see the reel at the end where he's breaking his head, like the Operation Condor type movies were the ones that had currency, with my group of friends at that time. But and then obviously Rush Hour and all that came out, and it was, but for me, the one that really was my starting point was the Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. That to me was the one that
that's one I haven't seen.
Yeah, that's the one to me. Like it's kind of like a spiritual prequel. Well, not a prequel. It's the Drunken Master is like a sequel.
I haven't seen
a cast sequel to that. You haven't seen Drunken Master?
Nope.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. So,
I haven't seen enough Jackie Chan films to really be a fan
all right.
because
So,
I don't want to base him solely on the ones that I have seen. Because I really do like the American stuff, but like I don't have much else to compare it with after
okay.
this and Police Story. But I do like what's the other one that I told you that I liked, where he's in it with Wei Pai and he does the skirt foo. Um, oh, I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's an older one, like a early '80s one, I think.
So hold on one second. I'm just trying to get the filmography so I can make some recommendations here for us. Um, so I think we should try to build up a Jackie Chan film like lineup of movies that you might like and see how deep we can go at some point. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah, because Police Story was not my thing because I really don't like the modern movies with the guns.
okay.
So
Um,
I'm definitely more a martial arts, hand to hand combat person.
okay. Oh, and I think it was Armor of God that I was thinking of, not Operation Condor. Armor of God is the movie I was thinking of. But I think we should do. I think Armor of God would be a good one because a lot of people really like that one, and I think maybe also doing uh, Drunken Master, and possibly if you like Drunken Master, uh, doing Snake in the Eagle Shadow. Um, but do you think that you would like any of the uh, more modern setting Jackie Chan movies, or do you think those are ones that would be like Police Story you didn't like because it was a modern setting?
Yeah, now I don't know. There was just something about that. Remember, I tried to watch it 3 times and I really just couldn't get with it.
Okay.
Um, I did want to try Meals on Wheels
Okay, I have a feeling I've I have a feeling you're
because
not
I
going to
and
like that one.
Project A.
Project A is
People have
good.
said people have said good things about Project A,
Project A is
and
really
Meals
good.
on Wheels always comes up. And
I just don't
there's
think you're
another
gonna like
one.
Meals on Wheels. I
Is
think you're
that
gonna
another
like
slash
moments. I
one?
think you'll like moments from it, but I don't think you'll like
The whole thing.
yeah. Um I don't know. We'll figure it out. I think that oh, maybe Drunken Master 2. That's actually a really good one too. Um but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Project A is good. I think Armor of God is good. I
What
think
about Rumble in the Bronx? Everybody talks about that one.
I mean I don't I we can do Rumble in the Bronx if you want to, but to me that's getting more into like the like I think like anything up to Drunken Master 2 is what we should be covering here. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Um so you know, Rumble in Bronx is a fine movie. It's just that I want to find out if there are like early '90s and '80s movies, and maybe some of the late '70s movies that you'd enjoy from his filmography. Because with Jackie Chan, I think the good thing about the earlier movies is just how nimble he is and how athletic he is. You know what I mean? Which does
Right.
diminish over time. So 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 yeah. So why don't we get to our ratings and recommendations, and then after
Okay.
the podcast we'll figure out how we're going to navigate doing a Jackie Chan thon. Um, so you went first last time, so I can go first this time, I suppose. Um, all right. I thought about this all night. You know, I was gonna wuss out and give it a 3, but I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm gonna give it a 2 because it was on top of you know not really rising up and just overall not really landing. It was kind of disappointing, and so I don't think I can really give it a rating of average because average is kind of you really don't care one way or the other. Do you know what I mean? But I was disappointed in this one, so I have to give it a 2. It might land differently with somebody who's read the manga or is more familiar with the manga or just has different tastes than me. And it definitely had its moments. I'm not going to say that it doesn't have funny moments. It does. It has a lot of good action in it, and parts of the story were great. And it has a real interesting stylized look and feel. It's just that too often that stylized look just doesn't work for me. Do you know what I mean? There were times it worked, and there were times I was like, I just don't think this is working in this case. And again, maybe I wasn't in a good enough mood. I don't know, but I just have to give it a 2. So I don't know what your rating would be.
Well, I'm also going to give it a 2. Since my 1s are movies that I turn off in the middle
okay,
and don't finish, I'm going to give it a 2. I just didn't like the dubbing. The music was horrible. There weren't enough funny bits. The plot wasn't executed well enough. But the good things were the actors were good in the roles that they had, and the fighting was good. And that's just about. There were some funny scenes, like the Street Fighter was great, but it was just not enough good to outweigh the bad for me, so I'd have to give it a 2.
Okay, and again, I gave it a 2 too, so I don't disagree. And we should mention this is on Prime, which is where we saw it. So if you do want to see it, you can check it out on Prime. If you're a Jackie Chan completist, you might like it. Like I was a bit that way back when I was deeply into Jackie Chan, and I think there was a movie called Beautiful or Gorgeous with Chu-Chi in it, and it really had very little martial arts or anything like that in it. But I watched that, and it had a cool fight at the end. But otherwise, it wasn't a film that I would go back to and rewatch. And this is a movie that I don't know. I just it just didn't come together. Because every time I go to this thing where it's like I want to say something nice about it. But then when I think about the movie, I'm like, no, it just didn't work. It just wasn't cohesive or something. It just kind of, it had moments. It might be, if you're with friends and you watch it, it might be okay because that's not, there'll be funny moments and you might laugh at those moments. But if you're alone and you're watching it, there's a lot of time where you're just kind of like waiting for something good to happen. So all right. So we will let you go, and we will be back on next week, hopefully with a better movie. We'll decide whether we're going to do, go back right into Wuxia or continue on the Jackie Chan trajectory. But yeah, so we'll be back on, and until then, we will talk to you later.